Hello everybody, Josie here. I'm going to do a two-book review, but these two books are by the same author, so it's kind of a series so far review, and it's just talking about a new series and a new-to-me author that I'm really enjoying. So, the books I'm going to be talking about are these two lovely ones here, and it is Dread Nation and Deathless Divide, and they're by Justina Ireland. First of all, I love these covers, they are gorgeous. I just think they're really beautiful. I love the colours. I kind of love the gold. When they're on my shelf, they look really cool. So I think cover design, top marks. So these two books are so they're quite interesting to read in the current climate that we're in. So they are basically like a retelling of the American Civil War era, but where the dead rose back up. So it's like a zombie apocalypse, basically. And your main characters are living through this kind of time period. So it's, like I said, around the Civil War a time period, but they're also dealing with zombies and the dead coming back and having to fight zombies. Your main character, Jane, is at a school, and it is called Miss Preston School of Combat for Negro Girls. And it is basically, so the premise, again, if you know anything about kind of the history and the social history of that era in America, this is around slavery, around the time when a lot of people of colour were indentured slaves, and they were treated appallingly. And I think what Justina Ireland does, and it's a POC author and its own voices, is that she really kind of takes these concepts of this horrible era, this horrible idea of owning people and having people as slaves, and puts them in this setting of a kind of a fantasy esque setting. And you can enjoy the stories because they are fun and they are, fighting, and these are girls, fighting zombies and fighting for survival. But there's some really serious themes in both of these books, that I loved and I found gut-wrenching at times, but also really important to read. And, about class and about your place in society and about how you're treated, not only as a person of colour, but as a woman, and treating people as commodities. So the idea is that these girls, these black girls, are being trained to be companions to white families, and these companions are there to basically fight off zombies and keep these families alive. So that's what they're being trained for at the school. Now, Jen is not very good at following the rules, so she has some problems, and then things kind of, Jane and a few of her other classmates, including Kate, who I really like, go to this kind of dinner that the mayor's hosting, and all hell breaks loose, and the story kind of goes from there. Obviously, I'm not going to say too much more about the story content because you have the first book and the second book, and yeah, I don't want to spoil these stories because my opinion is that I think you should read them, so I want to spoil the story. But like I said, what I loved about this is this combination of really serious discussion, social discussion, and also blended in with it's just such a great, fun storyline and read as well. Another thing I love is that these books are, so I would say that there is queer spectrum in both of them. So again, I'm not going to give away any of the storyline, but you've got asexual rep, a romantic rep, you've got queerness in these books. It's not the main focus, it's not overtly, the reason for these books is not that they're queer, it's more of the social discussion around colour and class, but there is that in there as well. I love the friendship and the relationship between Kate and Jane. It's fabulous. I love, again, the second book really goes, I think, more into character development and into the characters of Jane and Catherine. And the second book, you've got the alternate perspective as well. So you've got one chapter from Catherine's perspective and one chapter from Jane's. I love that. I was like, okay, where's this going to go? I loved where the second book went. I think there were some more serious aspects as well in the second book. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, it was interesting reading it at this time because you've got this kind of, in these books, you've got this external threat of every time you go outside, you know, you might get attacked by someone, by one of the undead, by one of the zombies. And at the moment, you know, you have this thing where being asked to, you know, stay in our homes, being quarantined, and because, you know, the external threat is going outside and coming into contact with other people. And I think it's a fascinating juxtaposition currently at this time, because also, you know, if you come into contact, if you get bitten, you're then turned into a zombie. You know, whereas if you go out and you come into contact with someone who has a virus, you might get the virus. So it is, I think that's kind of a, obviously completely unintentional by Justina Ireland, but it's reading it at this time is interesting. So yeah, so I really enjoyed this. I loved the fact that, you know, protagonists are women. They are tough. They fight for themselves. They stand up for their rights. The whole premise is that they fight, you know, which I think is really cool. I love that. That's another great aspect of this books. I just think they're fantastic. I would give them, you know, 4.5 stars each. Enjoyed the second one as much as I enjoyed the first one. And I would definitely recommend. If you kind of like that whole virus-y zombie thing, another book that I would recommend, I'm looking for it, hence me peering into my shelf, is this book over here. Everything else is gonna fall, yeah. Is this one over here, is The Girl with All the Gifts. This is by M.R. Carey. I read this a while ago. I loved this book. You know, it doesn't have the same sort of themes so although, actually, having said that, let me contradict myself. This has some interesting questions around how these people with this virus, this kind of zombie-esque virus, how they treat it and how society breaks down and how people treat each other. And I think that's an underlying theme in this book as well. So I think there is that. And then if you want kind of a slightly different take on also the zombie genre, I think Girl with All the Gifts is really, really good. But yeah, like I said, I recommend these books. I recommend this book. I think they're all great. Definitely read them. Let me know if you've read them and what you thought of them. Yeah, and anything similar, always happy for recommendations. Thank you for listening. Hope you're all well and safe, and I will speak to you all again very soon. Bye-bye.